Okay, we've all been there. We've read Dave's Total Money Makeover. We watch his videos, we listen to his podcast, and we decide, okay, this is the time I'm going to be successful. I am going to do his plan. So you grab a spiral notebook from your kid's room and you write down your budget after watching all the money tubers on YouTube talk about their budget. And you order some cash envelopes on Amazon because regular envelopes just aren't good enough because you are in it to win it. You get your $100, you put it in your grocery budget because everybody else, that's what they put in, like that's what they write down for their grocery budget. So obviously it could work for you. And then 3 days later you fail. And it's because you did not have a money mindset. That is the key. You have to have the right mindset, and it does not happen overnight. It took me 3 months to get a different mindset about money. For me, ignorance was bliss. As long as we weren't bouncing checks, I was like, we're fine with money. I don't need to know how much we spent. I didn't know how much money we were spending until this past summer. But as soon as we did, something clicked in me, and I knew I was going to have to be the driver of it in our family. And my husband just was like, fine, whatever it is you want to do, I will follow you, I'll support you. And that's how we did it. Getting out of debt, it's not a sprint. It's not like you wake up the next day and you're on a budget and you're gonna get out of debt. It's a marathon, and you have to slowly change your habits and your thinking around money. And I think that's where I always failed with Dave Ramsey's plan. So after 3 months, I was able to get our living expenses down to 30% of our take-home pay. And I did it because I made adjustments to our habits and our lifestyle that were right for our situation. What I'm doing, what my plan is specifically, is probably not going to be successful for you. And that's okay. Don't compare yourself to others. So I talk a lot about my 5-step process for getting out of debt, the one that I followed here. Step 1 was I needed to recognize what we were spending. So I had to track our expenses. I didn't try to go on a budget that entire month that I tracked our expenses. I just needed to sort of take a snapshot of what our money situation was. So I wrote down every single thing. So basically I just took a notebook. I wrote down the date, the amount, and where it was. I didn't have a balance, nothing. And then the next thing I did is I bought some highlighters. Buy a really nice set of highlighters. I'll leave a description for these down below. They're midliners. And I would categorize my spending. So I made these different categories. I still use this. It's laminated and I just pop it into my budget. And I always, at the end of the month, I have everything highlighted so that I can just quickly calculate what my spending looks like in my different categories. Another great thing that works are the Crayola Super Tips. So if your kids have markers, just grab those markers. They're great highlighters, so then don't spend any money. So that's what I did. We just needed to look at what our budget was. The second step was I made a budget based on that. And then if I realized we didn't have enough money every month based on what our spending was to pay our bills and put extra towards debt, I knew I needed to cut back. So we looked at what sort of things we could cut back on. We were spending over $1,500 a month on eating out and groceries. It was ridiculous. But we started making small changes. We stopped eating out. Then we stopped buying red meat. But I didn't do everything at once. It was just like these small little things. Like I knew what my end goal was, and we just made tiny steps to get there. There are still things that we're working on. I still cannot convince my husband to take his lunch to work. He does eat in the company cafeteria, so it's only $5 a day. And you know what? Our marriage is happier because of it. The fourth step in my process is that you sell everything except your children. Don't sell your children. But if it's not nailed down, it's not a necessity, you need to sell it. And that was huge for us. We saved, we paid off thousands of dollars of debt these past 6 months just from selling crap that you don't need. And the last thing, and I'm going to talk about this one, is we leverage our assets. This YouTube channel is an asset. Did you guys notice that I got monetized this week? I'm so excited. So yes, YouTube is going to help me pay down my debt. If you'd like me to make a video on how I was able to get monetized, I gained 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in 1 month, like last month. If you want me to do a video on how I did that, leave a comment below. I don't mind sharing my tips with you guys. And I'm super excited. I started earning money this week, money that YouTube is paying me to pay down my debt. So anyways, back to the story. So that's where our successful budget journey began. It was simply knowing where our money was going and tracking our expenses. And you, like, not knowing that and trying to start a budget will always lead to failure because you don't even know what you're doing. You don't know what your habits are so that you can start to change them. And there are other areas that Dave and I don't agree on. One, the $1,000 emergency fund. Although I think this is just sort of a starting point for him. I think if you're single in your 20s, a $1,000 emergency fund is more than enough to start paying down your student loans. But for a family of 4 living in the city, $1,000 is not enough. $1,000 wouldn't even cover our rent. And it's more for like emergencies, like, you know, your brakes went out in your car so that you don't go further into debt and start paying it off. But for me, $1,000 isn't enough for things like that. We also still travel. At least we traveled pre-pandemic. My family lives abroad and my puppy is in his 80s and I have to see him every year. He is the center of my family. And it's really important that we see him. And I'm not waiting a year. Well, I guess I am waiting a year, right? Because we can't travel. But I wouldn't stop traveling for that. That's really important to me. I also don't think credit cards are evil. I think they can be used improperly, but I think if you can control how you use them and you look at them as a tool and you spend, your money every week, and when you sit down to maybe put your money in your envelopes, you instead pay off your credit card balance for that week, I think it can be a great way to earn extra money. And it also can protect your purchases because there are certain protections that come with a credit card that wouldn't come with paying cash. I also don't like that he calls people stupid. I don't think you need to call people stupid to get through to them. I think you can lead with compassion and speak to people with compassion. And I don't think he's not a compassionate person. I just think he does it for views and to get attention. But even if that's what he's doing, I don't think it's right. So what do you guys think? Did having a money mindset play into your reaching your financial goals? Like, were you trying to get out of debt and you had to make a change to how you thought about money? I'd love to know in the comments below. Or do you guys follow Dave Ramsey to a T? I would also like to know that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will not have a vlog tomorrow, but I will restart on Monday. My husband and I are actually going away for the weekend to celebrate paying off $1.2 million of debt. And the hotel is free, don't worry. We have family members that work for Marriott, so we were able to get a free hotel. And I think it's important to just sort of take a break. And I think if I was vlogging the entire trip, my husband would not be happy. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.